Welcome, Sarah. Welcome to the Evolve with BR podcast.
Thank you, beautiful. It's so nice to be here.
Oh my gosh, it's a pleasure to have you on here for multiple reasons, not only to share your story and your mission and your message, but I feel like there's this move within the Indie Active tribe at the moment, and it's more of the girls speaking up and chatting about the disconnection they've got with their mind and their body. And, there is already a lot around self-image and, a lot of self-esteem issues, body confidence, like all that sort of thing. So I have been looking forward to having this conversation, and I couldn't think of a better person to spread this with than you, my love.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
I would love for you to share with the listeners a little bit about your journey, your impressive journey, which it is, and what you do and the magic that you create.
Oh, okay. Let's try to simplify it. Yeah, so was a professional dancer. So for those of you struggling with, body image, I know exactly what you are going through, especially just when your career is based on, the way your body looks. So started off as a professional dancer, was, back in the day, a personal trainer and a fitness instructor. I have mentioned this to Bree before. One of the the catalysts for really changing my intention behind fitness was when I was a professional dancer and I had the perfect body. Perfect. I'm doing, what are they called?
Quote unquote, quotation marks.
Quote unquote. They can't see me, can they? So I had the six pack, I had the seemingly perfect body, but I couldn't even bend down to undo like my shoes because my lower back was so sore. But I was like, but I've got a six pack. That means I've got a strong core. And that started, the journey of discovering what your true core really is. And, then I moved into Pilates teaching, then yoga teaching. And then, I was a studio owner of Pilates and yoga and dance studios for nearly 15 years. And it was in the studios where I started to recognize that, people at my Pilates studio, they were like, they wanted the workout, they wanted to feel the burn, they wanted to get the perfect body. And I could see that all they needed to do was to relax. And I'm like, you should come over to the yoga studio. Oh, no, I don't do yoga. I'm not a yogi. And then I'd be in my yoga studio and they're all so zen, but they had no true core and alignment and stability. I'm like, come on over to the Pilates studio. And they're like, oh, no, I'm a yogi. I don't do that. So people were resisting what it was that they needed. And, so basically what I teach now is fitness industry is fantastic and yoga's great, but there's a missing link of really simple, fundamental mind-body awareness that is not getting taught. Yes. So what I share, I didn't learn in my Pilates teacher training. I didn't learn in my yoga teacher training. I didn't learn in my fitness or my PT teacher training. It's what I've observed over 25 years of witnessing women's bodies. And I love to share what's not being taught so that when they go into the gym, they've got that deeper connection and awareness. I'm never for once saying, don't go to the gym, don't do your high intensity training, but I have witnessed the detrimental effects of doing it without the right awareness. And that's what I really love to help women with.
I love that. So much experience. And also you're based in Mount Martha in Victoria, aren't you? Yeah. And you've got your own Pilates studio.
Well, no, I've had studios for 15 years and I am for the first time studio free, which is amazing. It's because my lease was up coming out of COVID and I was about to sign the lease and I'm like, oh, my body was literally just like, oh, contracting. And I'm like, okay, body, you don't like this. And it was just, I had to listen to it. The thought of going back into that life I'd led for 15 years was a big no. And it would have been so easy to re-sign another lease. So no.
How is that for embodiment?
It was just like, there's so many stories of that. But so for the first time I am studio free because I want to see who I am, without being Sarah, the studio owner. It's really important
Totally.
to
And
discover who you are when you're not all that you have been.
totally. And you're taking on the world virtually, which is so impressive.
Awesome.
And something I want to delve into, Sarah, is, really getting that mind to body connection. And, yes, I actually say it to my girls with their strength training. I'm like, get that mind to muscle connection. Like, where do you want to be feeling it? But it goes so much more than that, right? Like, it's about knowing and navigating those niggles or pains within the body, because the body's always trying to tell you something, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I always say our bodies are master communicators. Are you listening to yours? I really believe it is, like, alignment sort of is number one, because you saw in the little presentation we did together, that psoas, that unconscious clutching that we're doing. Have you ever heard about that before?
I hadn't until you spoke about it. I would love for you to
Yeah.
actually share that, because this is only something that I just become aware of. And
Yeah.
since you brought that to my attention, I can't believe how much awareness I have around doing it throughout my day. Like, I'm like, oh, there it is. I'm like, I call it the essay, Sarah Adele. I'm like, oh, I'm doing the essay, because I couldn't remember what you'd called it.
I love it. It is. It's just, there's a muscle within our body, and it's called the psoas. It's spelled PSOAS. And it attaches from the mid to lower back and down all the way around, inserts into the top of the legs. So it stabilizes our spine. It joins the top half and the bottom half of the body together. So that's the physical aspect. But on a primal aspect, whenever we're stressed or anxious or worried, the psoas contracts. It contracts to protect us. So we can contract down into a fetal position to protect ourselves. It contracts so that we can accelerate and sprint away from the danger. The thing is, in this modern world, the psoas is contracting because we're late for work, and it's contracting because I always use this. The in-laws are coming over for dinner, or contracting because you're worried about, it's contracting because, as you, I'm sure, would be talking to your community about, our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real life situation and a perceived threat. So even though it's not a life and death situation, our body is still having the same physiological response. For those worried about body image, what that's doing is it's taking us straight up into our stress state, our sympathetic nervous system. So many women, they're like, I'm going to the gym every day, I'm eating clean, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and the weight won't budge. And that's because they're stuck in their stress state. And that psoas contracting is one of the main reasons they're there. And this is the whole thing about, fitness and stuff. I remember getting told, like, we get told to tuck and to imprint to activate our core. But that's not your core. That's the superficial muscles. That's the outside. And it's also pulling us into that stress state. So we think we're getting a strong core by doing that, but really we're triggering our stress state, which what happens in our stress state? Our digestion shuts down. Our body doesn't function the way it should. So you're trying to lose that weight, and you just work, you're up against a brick wall. So I believe that is the most fundamental thing to become aware of. And it
totally.
Really
and a word that you said in there is doing. Like, there's so much doing and not enough being, right? And this is what I see as well. Like, a lot of people are so in their heads, like, oh, I have to do this, quote unquote, have to, or whatnot. And it's really not. It's about letting go, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that really resonated when you spoke the other day. I was like, yes, like that landed for me on an emotional level. It's about releasing what is actually not here, not serving us, I should say. Love for you to delve into that.
Yeah, beautiful. So there's a big sort of misconception about surrender. Like, in life, it's good to surrender your attachment to the outcome, but you still essentially still wanted to take action. But in terms of the physical body, I always love to say, if your body was another person, how do you describe the way you treat her? Wow. Do you listen to her? Do you honor her? And we live in a yang-based society. We are always doing, do, go. What I love to invite women to do is to step back and allow their bodies to guide the way for once. Because we're always telling our body, okay, body, we're going to the gym. Okay, body, we're doing this. Okay, body, we're doing that. Whereas our body is just patiently waiting here for us to go, okay, it's your turn. Our body has got so much to share with us. Isn't it funny that we let our bodies beat our heart every day? We let our bodies take care of digestion. We let our bodies do so much. And then when it comes to movement and exercise and the physicality, we're like, no, I'm going to do it all. It's like
yes,
that intelligence that beats the heart, that intelligence that digests the food has got intelligence to release the pain, to release the tension.
mm-hmm.
And that's where inviting a yin-like approach is magic.
And yin being our feminine energy, right?
Yin being our feminine energy. And so many of us know the difference between yin and yang in terms of, yang is masculine, yin is feminine. And we sort of leave it at that. And so there's so many people out there going, embrace your feminine energy. And then I always bring the question back to your body, like you're saying it, but how can you be truly embodying it if you don't know what that is within your body?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
So your yin aspects of your body are your joints, your connective tissues, and your fascia. And I think people were like, what's your fascia? We all know what our muscles is. That's yang. We all know what our blood is. We don't even know what our yin tissues are.
Yes.
So,
oh my gosh, I'm so glad you touched on this.
yeah. So yin is when you actually go, oh, okay, body, I'm going to step back for a minute and I'm going to let you work your magic. So what you're doing here, and you don't need to go to a yin yoga class. I always encourage my clients to do this like in bed at nighttime. You just check in with your body. What's becoming sort of apparent to you? Where is the tension? And you can create your own shape. That's the other thing with, just general exercise is it's very standard and it's a certain regulated shape. But how do you know that's right for you? So I always encourage my clients, like, close your eyes, allow your body to guide the way, discover, experiment, explore, and find what your body needs. And then, as you said, your clients are so like, we've got this attachment to doing. This is what they find hard because like, but I need to do something. I need to do something. And like, no, you're letting your body work the magic. So you're lying there doing nothing. Majority of us feel lazy because we're not doing anything. Mind you, if we hold that shape, this is like a scientific, this is actually what's happening. So after 90 seconds, your body starts to go through what we call a phase change. Your body, that intelligence, that amazing body starts to create hyaluronic acid, which is what our joints need to be hydrated, to be nourished, to be youthful. It's what we inject in our face to make us feel youthful. We can create it ourselves within our hips. It's funny how we know it in that way. We've got little workers called fibroblasts and chondrocytes. They're reorganizing your collagen fibers. They're regenerating your ligament tissue, all while you do nothing. Like there's so much that our bodies can do when we actually surrender, trust the process, and let time do its thing.
Yes, I love that. Surrender. It's one of my words because I always used to think like, oh, if I surrender, I'm letting go of it. Like, I don't want it to go anywhere. It's like, no, but surrendering doesn't mean necessarily that. It means you're letting go of the attachment to it, because if you're attached to it, you're only creating more resistance and friction. But something else that you mentioned is like, yeah, all about the doing, but and being connected with our bodies. And isn't it really interesting how the first thing we ever start life with is our breath, and we end life with our breath, but we're not actually taught how to use it to our benefit and to use it to navigate our emotions, or when we're experiencing, let's say, anxiety attacks or all these sort of things. And it's just like, this is an opportunity for us to, move into this and deal with our breath so that we're not in that, what's it called again? That
clutch, the sympathetic nervous system, the stress state. Yeah.
The clutch. Yeah. It's just like, it's like putting the brake on, our foot on the brake and the accelerator at the same time, instead of allowing to just completely surrender. Yeah. I love that. And something that I actually just experienced recently, I've just got into yoga, and like I was your typical like, oh, I'm not into yoga. Like, yoga is not my thing. And now I'm like, I love yoga. I get to connect with my body like I've never done before. I have a new respect for my body. Like, I'm like, yesterday I was laying on my mat. I'm like, I'm so grateful that my body can do all this and I don't need to tell it to on a conscious level. Like, it's all doing it subconsciously. But what I also found was when I was in particular moves, I was having this ache, like serious ache, whether it be my hips, which I feel like is related to my not my solar plexus, my sacral chakra being blocked. But like all of these sort of things, like our body is trying to tell us. And I remember you actually had in your presentation last week about each of the body parts telling us that that's a reason why it's showing us pain, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I did that as a general way to introduce people to, you know, our bodies holding emotions. But it's really interesting. And really the hips, like your hips are your psoas, like that's the, you know, so yeah, it's more root and sacral chakra. So root is like, shit, am I supported? Shit, like it's fear-based. Yeah. So, but yeah, hips have got anything to do with fear and anxiety. So that's psoas, that's that contraction. So learning how to let that go is so, so important. And just to go back, what you were saying about your breath, we know how to breathe properly. We don't need to be taught. We just need our optimal breath is just here squashed behind, you know, exercise culture, pulling that tummy, scoot, do the thing, stress, you know, so many women walk around pulling their tummy in. So it's actually just piled beneath all of our habits and conditioning that, you know, so it's actually really important to remove those things. And that's it. You can teach someone to breathe. However, if you're not talking about that unconscious clutch, they've still got the habits there. So do you see the difference? There's people that don't know how to breathe properly, then people that are teaching how to breathe, but no one's teaching them or making them aware of those subconscious habits that are piled on top first.
Totally. And this is like where people then turn to distractions because they don't know how to actually deal with their emotions or whatever it has been piling on, like their conditionings. And you know, this is why society, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but why society is like building and building and building these conditionings that's only creating so much more failure for people, but they're not seeing it. Anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
No, exactly. How funny is this? I'm giving away my latest reel. I want to create a reel when I'm in the supermarket losing my shit. I want to like get down and like have a tantrum like my kids used to do and lose my shit. And I keep saying to like my 15-year-old son, come on, can you film it? And he's like, Mom, I'm not doing it. And then I asked my 13-year-old daughter, can you film me in the middle of the supermarket? They won't have a bar of it. But I'm like, I know my husband will let me make a fool of myself in the supermarket because it's like if we were free to express, we would be a much healthier, you know, planet. And, you know, isn't it funny that the opposite of depression is expression?
Yes, good one. I like that.
About that, you'll see that come out on my social media today. But depression is pushing down, which is what we do. And and isn't it funny what we do in this society when we are depressed is we numb. You know, we take our medication and we numb. So we're just further pushing down.
Yeah, suppressing.
The opposite of that is expressing. So we essentially need to release and
being in our fullest expression.
Absolutely. And you know, in terms of the body and the emotion, it's so interesting. I love doing that with my clients. And this is where the bottom up approach to coaching works. So I was with a coaching client and we do the mindset work and we get so far with that, which is beautiful. If you've still got aches and pains in your body, that means there's something else that needs to be expressed.
Yes.
And we want to understand it's not the physical symptom. It's not the knee hurting. It's like, how does the knee hurting make you feel? When you go, oh, my knee's sore, how do you feel? That's the key.
Yes, I like that one. I like that, especially having that awareness around the body's always trying to tell us something. We need to tune in and listen to what it's trying to tell us. So I guess starting on this journey, because I would say like I've very much been on this journey since I ruptured my ACL. I did my knee. I was like tuning into my body, like healing my body rather than just trying to medicate it or, you know, get the next surgery and do all these things, which I have found has been so beneficial for me. But for those that I guess are starting on the start of their journey and do want to start tuning into their body and knowing what's going on, where would you suggest or invite them to start?
Yeah, beautiful. I love that you just said that, because I have, as I said, been a body worker for 25 years. And it's always a more mature clientele, like some more sort of, or once women have not mature, I'm not saying you're immature, but as in that's me.
I was like, how well do you know me, Sarah?
No, but no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it because rather than saying it older, like that's my way of describing my more mature clientele. So normally, no, it's generally I work with women that have had babies. So from once they've had babies up, because pelvic floor health is, really something I work a lot with. And then whenever I see a young person, so like from 18 to 30, whenever I see them book in for an appointment or like to work with me, I go, what's happened? And it's really unfortunate that it takes an illness or an injury or something to rattle them and go, oh, hang on, I actually need to just shift the way I am treating my body. So I love that you said you had your injury and you went, oh, hang on a minute, I better actually start to consider my body and what it actually needs. You change it, you treat it differently, don't you?
Totally. Oh my gosh, like profound.
Yeah, absolutely. The best way to start, that's like I'm doing another Sacred Union masterclass for general people, but it's really, and it really involves alignment, knowing what true alignment is, because what we think it is not what it is. And that's again related to the doing. So know true alignment for yourself. So many of us rely on their osteo or their physio or their chiro to make them aligned. It's like, we need to know that for ourselves.
Yes. So glad you touched on that.
Like clients, I remember having a client once, and he was a man. He was like, oh, no, my physio puts me in the right spot. And I'm like, well, that's great. I said, but I really would love you to know what that is for yourself.
Yeah, totally. One of my mates said this to me the other day, actually.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, my back's out. I'm like feeling all these pains in my lower back. And like instantly I was just like, oh no, there's something more deeper going on emotionally for him. He obviously feels caged, he feels stuck, or, maybe there's some deeper meaning to it. And he's like, but it's fine. I'm going to the physio and then I'm going to go to the chiropractor and do all this.
And that's
I'm like,
avoidance. Yeah.
Avoidance. And I'm like, that's cute Band-Aids. I'm like,
exactly. And see, what you're saying is absolutely true. And I love that. And that's what I do. And that's what majority of coaches and healers do. We look on the emotional side. But there is also the tangible, practical side that they need to know. So immediately for lower back, I can 100% bet that he never includes his pelvic floor as part of his core. He wouldn't know what his multifidus is the muscles in the back.
Totally.
And that's the second thing. And then the yin approach and even stretching. So I look at, again, I look at both, the really tangible physical and then the emotional release. And yeah, a lot of people just do one or the other. So that this basic information is so, so important. So going back to the 5 things, know what alignment is, know how to release the unconscious clutching within your body. Yeah. Discover what your true core is.
Yes, love that.
So many people don't know what their core is. They just think it's their abs. It's not. Your core is your pelvic floor. It's your abdominals. It's your multifidus. It's all the back, and it's your diaphragm.
It's everything, right?
Everything. And I liken that to building a house. The way that we generally think of our core, it's like you're just thinking of the front of the house. It's your abs. Yeah, my core's strong. So the front of your house is strong. What about the foundation? That's your pelvic floor. What about the back of your house? That's your multifidi, the muscles in the back. And what about your roof, your diaphragm? You wouldn't build a house like that. And we're building the core of our body like that.
I love that analogy, and that lands so much. Totally. Yeah. And it's so important to have that awareness, because you're so right. Everyone thinks, quote unquote, it's a good thing to have a core, to have a ripping 6-pack. And it's like, actually,
it is great. It's great. You just want to have the true core beneath it strong too.
Exactly. I mean, and I'm like, for me, I believe it comes down to a genetic thing as well. But seeing a 6-pack, you're either extremely low body fat, like under, the normal percentage. But it's like, why is there such a culture to say like this is healthy, like having a six-pack's healthy. And it's like actually what's really healthy is having a positive relationship with your body and not comparing to anyone else. And that's what I see so often. It's like women shaming themselves, or they don't want to post that photo because they don't have a six-pack, or they've got cellulite. And it's just like, if you loved your body so much and had that connection, you wouldn't be experiencing those behaviors or seeing these patterns that are playing out. And yeah, like you love yourself, right?
Oh, I love that. I look back to the time that I had, my 8-pack, and I lived on a diet of chicken nuggets from Macca's. I was so malnourished. It was disgusting. And I was like, my job was so physical. I was doing like, 2 stage shows at night. I think I was like, dancing, through the day. It was just like, I was the most physical I've ever been. So it's interesting. In terms of body image, what I have worked out as I have matured, as in my way of describing getting older, is that it's a matter of finding acceptance. You can't find acceptance when you don't treat your body well. So, I'm 45 now and my body is changing, and it's like, shit. And I feel like I hate myself when I treat my body badly. When I'm eating shit and I'm drinking alcohol, it's just like, it is so hard to find a sense of acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I, just eat clean and intuitively, and I treat my body well, and I move and I do all the things, it's like, all right, body. So is this where you are now? Is this who you are now?
Yes.
Because you know that you're doing everything you can. So you find that sense of acceptance. It's like, oh, okay. So I'm doing everything to nourish you and nurture you. Wow, okay, this is who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Of course you're different, and that's okay. So yeah, acceptance is really hard to find when you're not treating your body well. You'll never find it.
I feel so aligned with everything that you just said, because, if we're constantly putting our bodies down and shaming ourselves, that's going to really impact how we show up in the world, in our behaviors and everything, like what we're choosing to eat, what we're putting in our bodies. We're more likely to go out on the weekend and drink excessive amounts of alcohol. And, this is something that I've actually just worked. I wouldn't say just, it's been probably a few months now, but, I fell in this rut of not feeling good enough. I wasn't accepting my body. And that meant I was going out on weekends and just, abusing my body in all things. And then obviously I came to the awareness this was not helping either me or my business, because at the end of the day, they're the same thing. And when I took this turn of events and started nourishing my body, fueling my mind with positive thoughts, my whole reality shifted, and it amplified my vibration. People that weren't truly aligned with me, my inner being, fell away. And that allowed people to come into my reality that were actually soul people, like that were good for me, that amplified my growth. And I think there's so much more at play that people actually don't even realize when we just look after our bodies, when we look after who we are, because at the end of the day, we don't have to live anywhere else except for our own bodies, right?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking, because you're on the Gold Coast, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. So I was your age on the Gold Coast. Because do you mind me asking how old you were?
I'm 24 now.
Yeah. So I was on the Gold Coast from like 20 to 30.
Nice.
So I also know what it's like to be on the Gold Coast. It's a land of the beautiful people. He's all around. So it's like those women, I get it. I know what it is like to live on the Gold Coast and just be surrounded by beautiful bodies. Mm-hmm. What we want to consider is our body language makes up for 80% of our communication.
Yes.
So, think of, we all want to be leaner and skinnier. Think of someone, think of a lean, skinny woman, and she's just sort of cowering and walking along, contracted and hunched over, because she just doesn't feel like she's good enough, and she's just worried about, comparing herself to everyone else. And then think of someone that's more voluptuous, and she's just so confident in who she is, just walking down the street, eye contact, smiling. Like, which one is more attractive?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if you're skinnier. It matters what your expression is. What is your body language saying? So when we can shift, our clients' perspective of really honoring what it is they feel like from the inside, it's like, that's where it is so important, isn't it, to find that acceptance?
Oh, the self-acceptance is the biggest piece. And it's what I work on mostly with the women that come into my coaching or mentoring containers. They start off thinking, yeah, I want to get healthier and leaner and fitter and stronger, which they do. But it's this whole new mindset shift of, I actually love who I have become and what I've created in the process. Like, it's a mindset shift. And I think that is what is really rewarding, not just as individuals now, but the next generation coming through, because we're actually educating women now to love themselves in who they are and what they do now, than, having this figure of like we said before, we have to have a six pack, we have to be skinny, which that is like, I don't say hate ever, but it is the one word I hate, because I'm like, growing up, it's like you had to be skinny to be on a fitness magazine. And now it's like, no, you want to be strong and fit and lean. And I still hear it nowadays. I'm like, what? I feel like that's such a 2000 thing, right?
It is. And I remember always, wanting to be leaner or skinnier until I've had close people in my proximity get really sick. And now I just, I associate it with being sick.
Yes. So, interesting.
Yeah. I always, say to my clients and my community that it's not the way you look that determines how you feel, but what your mind believes to be true that does. And think of, you and I, like, we both know women that have won awards for having perfect bodies. And, I know women that have been dancing around the world, they're so highly recognized and praised. And people look them externally going, oh my God, you've got the perfect body, you're amazing. Yet we know them, that inside they're broken.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So glad you said that. Yeah.
Like, it's everywhere. Like, and I get these, working with women, I get women that their whole job, their career is their body, and they've got the perfect body, and inside they're an absolute mess.
Yeah.
So having the perfect body is not going to make you happy.
Yeah, right. And it's like, what even is that? Like, what is even the perfect body?
Exactly.
Like, to me, the perfect body is what is going on for you internally, how you are seeing your body, because that's the only perfect that we should have, is within how we're feeling within ourselves.
Yes. And then that goes into the whole body dysmorphia thing, because what we see is a lot of the time not really what's in the, reality, is it?
Exactly. And I was even doing this the other day. I was going through my camera roll, because classic me, my phone's always like storage full. Okay, I'll go back and delete some photos. And as I was looking at these photos that I had not posted from 2 years ago, because I was fat shaming myself. I was like, no, I remember being in that moment, like, I'm not posting, I look fat. I'm like, I look back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, are you ridiculous? Like,
I know.
Photo's fantastic.
Yeah. I'll show you, I'll send you a picture of me at my wedding.
Yeah.
My God, I looked like an absolute goddess. I designed and had my own like dress made. It was like a Grecian goddess. It was so beautiful. I got the pictures back. I couldn't look at them. I thought I was fat and disgusting. I look back now and it's just like, oh my God.
My mouth just dropped. Oh my God.
Actually, I'll tag you in a reel I did a while back, and I showed all the pictures of when I was that. And you see, and then I did what I was actually thinking in my head.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's like, whoa, yeah, it's pretty crazy what's happening out there, and what what goes in our mind as women. The whole, I think a really powerful thing for us to consider as well is intention without expectation. And like the intention, if you put the expectation on, it's actually quite limiting. Like, you can blow that expectation out of the water. But if you have the intention to nourish and nurture your body, it's not the end result. It's the feeling that you are experiencing along the way.
Exactly, because the end result most of the time that people want is fat loss, but people don't realize fat loss is just a byproduct of looking after yourself and feeling good, prioritizing feeling good. And like, that is my message. It's like, when you do the shit that sets your soul on fire, the natural byproduct, you'll feel good. When you feel good, you'll want to nourish your body, you'll want to move your body and do all the things that do light you up, rather than being like, oh yeah, wellness is a chore, like I have to go to the gym or I have to eat this and that. It's like, you don't have to do anything, but you get to look after yourself, you get to feel good, and that's where the true growth happens.
Absolutely. And I think it was 2 years ago now that I really changed my relationship with alcohol. Like,
Yes.
you know what it's like Gold Coast, and especially like, you know, I was in the entertainment industry on the Gold Coast. You know, so we were always going to awesome events, and it was just, you know, just a lot of, you know, drinking and living the high life.
Oh, I can imagine.
That continued my whole, you know, that just continued. And then 2 years ago, I actually changed my relationship with alcohol. And yeah, I don't like to go, that's it, I'm not drinking, because if I say that's it just makes me want something more.
Totally. That reverse psychology.
Oh, absolutely. But I ended up going, I think it was like maybe 5 months, like without a drink at all. And it was like, holy shit. You know, you have people do dry July, or they give themselves that little bit of time. They go, oh, it didn't make any difference. I didn't lose weight. I didn't feel better. But if you go that little bit longer, it's like, whoa, is that how you feel?
Totally.
And it's the same thing with food. When you really just nourish your body, it's just like, I like to say, like, add the goodness. And then it's just like, oh God, you don't want to put the shit in your body.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So true. So I actually did dry July. I think I had so very much like you said, I didn't want to cap myself and like add that resistance, or I shouldn't say resistance, the restriction, because I knew that focusing on something that I don't want, I'm only going to create more of what I don't want, because wherever energy goes, or your focus goes, energy flows. So I reckon I had 2 drinks in July, and then I haven't drank since. And well, what are we in, August? So, I mean, it's only 2 months, but I'm feeling so much better. My skin is better. My energy is so much better. Like, I couldn't think of anything worse than to have a drink right now, let alone like anything else. Like, it's just not in my radar. So I can totally understand that. It's a great feeling.
Alcohol's a huge one. Like alcohol, like it's the contributor to like anxiety. Like so many people, you know, they're like, I'm so anxious. And I'm going to drink more. I'm going to drink more and drink more. It's like the alcohol is making you, because it's the glutamate. Like it's
right.
Your brain trying to balance it out. So you're like, yeah, it makes me feel better. But I'm like, oh yeah, but then your body's got to, you know, do this to try to rebalance, and it's making your anxiety worse.
It blows my mind. It blows my mind how people haven't picked up on that awareness. Or for me, it's the crippling hang anxiety the next day. Like, I did a post on this a few months ago about how, you know, having a splurgy weekend affects me not just the next day, but like weeks after, because it amplifies my anxiety and I can't function. So I won't have a business if I can't function.
Oh my God, exactly. I actually did a podcast and I was like, can I launch it? Because because we lived on the Gold Coast for so long. So we spent all of, you know, about a month on the Gold Coast at Christmas. And it was a big drinking holiday. And before Christmas, before we went, I felt so good and I was so motivated and driven, knew exactly what I wanted. And then I came back after Christmas and I was like getting back to work, and it's like, ugh. I just felt like shit. And anyway, so I did a podcast, and I'm like, just being really raw and authentic, like I couldn't even articulate my words.
Oh my gosh, it's the words
like,
for
I'm
me.
Like, what? Hang on, what? Like, it was just like, and I had to record it because I'm like, this is who I am. And I used to be like that all the time, but I didn't even know. I didn't even know there was this other person there that was, you know, not that person. That I was still vivacious and outgoing and really successful. But then now, like, it's like I'm looking at my old self from afar going, oh shit, it's interesting.
And like, this might be a very unpopular opinion, but I honestly believe the higher level of consciousness that you have, the more you can see what's at play, and you just don't want to. And I know that like that's going to trigger a lot of people, but that's just how I see it. It's like people that, you know, are seeing life for what it really is and they're feeling good. They're not chasing the next high, or they're not chasing the next thing that's going to make them feel good, because they know exactly what makes them feel good in their day-to-day life, and they're going to prioritize that.
And they don't need it. I remember it was a client of mine. She's a very, very successful woman. She's a philanthropist and really high level of consciousness. And I remember her telling me that oh, you won't want the wine. Like, I just remember when she said that, because she did chakra acupuncture. It was really quite amazing. And I just remember thinking, I can't imagine ever not wanting wine. Like, I was just like, that is not going to happen.
Yes.
But it's like now it's like different. Like, now it's great. Like, my relationship has changed. Like, I can still have, some champagne on the weekend, or, have a glass of wine if we're going out for an impromptu lunch, but it's just different. If I used to like have a wine at lunch, then I'd go, let's drive through the bottle shop and keep going.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Let's make a day of it. Let's make a weekend of it.
Totally. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And even changing those little habits. Like, I remember also thinking, oh my God, there's no way I can, drink lots of water or tea before my morning coffee. Like, I would wake up and need a coffee straight away.
How intense. Actually,
and
that reminds me.
Now I have like a few pots of tea, like just herbal tea in the morning. And then sometimes I actually don't even want a coffee. But that was only a few months ago that I thought that. So it's like, you think things and then you're like, there's no way. But then it's like you create those new habits, and then it's like, ooh, you see the other side.
And you just keep going with it because it becomes so habitual with how good you feel. So you're like, I don't want to stop
this.
Good.
You know the difference. It's like, how do I feel when I wake up and have a pot of herbal tea? How do I wake up when I wake up and have a coffee? And like, coffee always makes me feel a bit edgy and anxious. And I'm like, oh, I feel like really nourished and calm. And so you get to choose.
Yes, you do. And isn't it so funny? So I had dinner with one of my really good friends last weekend, and normally you go out for dinner, you'd have a drink, and we just decided we didn't want to drink. We didn't need a drink. We're like, okay, so first of all, that was massive, and then second of all, I woke up and I had this like immense amount of gratitude and appreciation for not even having one. I was like, but it was inevitable that we were going to be drinking. Like, we didn't feel like it. And so to then like wake up on a Sunday morning feeling healthy, I was like, I couldn't think of anything worse, waking up feeling shit.
I know. There's a drink that I love. It's called Etch Sparkling.
Okay.
And it's a local company. They're a beautiful husband and wife team. And the guy, he was actually, Jason, his name is, he was actually right at the head of the wine industry, like traveled the world selling wine, high-end wines. Basically, he became dependent on it and ended up in rehab. And then Etch Sparkling was born. It stands for Every Time Choose Health. Amazing. And that's what helped me change my relationship with alcohol, because I realized it actually wasn't the alcohol. It was the ritual of having a drink in a nice glass. So you still have, and it's like, so it completely changed. I don't know if I could have done it without Etch. And it's not a replacement. When people stop drinking, they go, I'll do a, non-alcoholic wine, but that's it's not really healthy. But anyway, I did a review once, and I said to them, thank you for giving me the magic of mornings. Because like Sunday mornings are the most beautiful morning when you wake up and you're not hungover. It's just, it is magic. And you forget that because you just have weekends that are hungover.
Literally. And it's the Monday for me as well. Like Monday, I'm not cloudy. I'm crystal clear. Like, I've set on that Sunday, I've set up my week ahead, and such a better human for it.
I love that. Yeah.
Much better. So, Sarah, we could talk about all things body, everything, but I do want to ask you before I love you and leave you 2 questions. What would you tell your youngest self?
I would tell my youngest self to wear the shorts. I lived on the Gold Coast for 10 years. And I didn't ever wear shorts because I thought I couldn't wear shorts. And now I look back and I'm like, you so should have worn the goddamn shorts. You're never going to look younger or more beautiful than you do right now. Just wear the shorts.
I love that. Love that. Second question, what do you do to set your soul on fire?
Oh, well, got 2 things. I love just being with my family and the simple things. Like, I love driving my kids to school. I love cooking dinner because, not too long ago, like, I was very busy with all my businesses and I outsourced my whole life. I had a personal assistant. I had a cook. I had a cleaner. I didn't really have a cook. Oh, well, Jason, my husband, was the cook. But I had a cleaner. I basically outsourced my whole life. And it's really funny how rewarding it is to wipe down the kitchen bench when you finish the dishes. Like, you know, when you're actually detached from the little things, like, yeah, so the simple things actually set my soul on fire. And so does dance. Like, yeah, I as I moved into more coaching and business mentoring, I had this thought that I had to stop being Sarah the dancer. So I'm like, I can't be that, because people need to think of me as, you know, more professional, and that's who I am. So I'm like, I didn't ever, and I thought it was holding on to the past. And then, yeah, I'm like, but that's who I am. So yeah, I tried to sort of leave it behind, but I'm like, that is how I express. That is me. I can be a coach and a business mentor and be the Sarah that loves to dance.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And a mum.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And your
my 13-year-old daughter, she just cringes. She's just like, I'm like, just don't look at anything I do. You'll be fine.
I love your Instagram. Please never change it. Like, you have the best reels. Like, as soon as you post something, I'm like, yes, save or send.
You're
great. And on that note, where can all of my listeners find you?
Yes, Instagram's my favorite. I really need to get my Facebook game up again. So it's just I am Sarah Adele at Instagram. And that's probably the best way to touch base.
Amazing. Well, I'll be sure to pop your Instagram handle in the description. But Sarah, thank you so much for jumping on, sharing your wisdom. And I have absolutely no doubt this has landed on so many young women's shoulders and they've taken plenty away.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. And just finally, it's really just important to consider, like I always say, that, you know, the body, if you consider your body as the other person. I've written something actually for the younger person, but it's like, when I'm younger, my voice is little. Just consider, if you do want to have babies, and if you do want to have a healthy, you know, body and a life of longevity, just take the time to consider how you're treating your body now. Because when you're younger, you are invincible, and then once you have babies, and it's just like, oh, like I work with thousands of women, and like, God, why didn't I know this earlier? So don't wait for an injury or an illness or something to happen for you to change your relationship with your body, to get to know it on that deeper level. And that doesn't mean stop doing anything you're doing. Go to the gym, do your fitness classes, do it all, but do it with a deeper sense of awareness and connection.
I love that. So for all those listeners out there, this is your sign. Either reach out to Sarah, reach out to me, reach out to anything that you feel aligned that is going to help you achieve your wellness goals, but also your relationship with yourself. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for joining me.